wants the big boys. He wants the guys that are going to challenge him and going to bring danger. He wants to prove to people that he's the best, and he will prove it, and he will look badass with these guys.
The call-out that shocked boxing. The boxing world exploded after one unexpected name entered the conversation. David Benavidez. Fresh off another dominant performance, Benavidez suddenly turned his attention toward the most dangerous man in heavyweight boxing, Oleksandr Usyk. And just like that, a fantasy fight instantly became one of the hottest debates in combat sports, because this wasn't a casual mention. This sounded serious. And fans immediately started asking one terrifying question. Did Benavidez just challenge the one fighter nobody should provoke?
Usyk was undisputed in the cruiserweight division before coming up to the heavyweight division and becoming undisputed there. So, the thing is, does Benavidez want to go up to heavyweight, go up even more in weight, which he already did 25 pounds to go up to cruiserweight, and then go up more to meet Usyk there? Or will Usyk be coming down to cruiserweight?
A response that felt like a warning. Boxing is strange sometimes. One interview can feel more dangerous than an actual fight announcement, because after Benavidez's comments started spreading online, Usyk finally responded, not loudly, not emotionally, not like most fighters would, but calmly. Almost too calmly. The kind of calm that makes people nervous. Fans noticed something chilling in Usyk's tone. He sounded completely comfortable with chaos, as if the idea of another impossible challenge didn't bother him at all.
The Usyk fight is one of the biggest fights of this decade right now. Take it while it's hot. Don't play with him, and don't let him play with you. It is not smart for David Benavidez to give Jabatai a shot at his name right now, because he's hot right now. You go up and fight Usyk while you're hot, and it makes sense. You can always come back down and fight Batai if you want to. You understand? If you lost to Usyk, Batai fight still there. If you lose to Batai, Usyk fight gone. So be smart about this thing. Go take Usyk.
I said after the fight this past Saturday, after I witnessed what David Benavidez did, I said that I'd pick David Benavidez to beat most heavyweights. Not all, but most. And definitely not Usyk. Would I like to see it? Yeah, but there's fights that I like to see a lot more. For example, Bivol at 175, Jai Apataya. So would I like to see him move up to heavyweight to fight Usyk? Yeah, I think it would be fun. I think it would be a fun fight to make. But I would much rather see him fight Bivol or Jai Apataya.
Boxing's fast-moving madness, nobody expected the conversation to escalate this quickly. Usually after a big victory, fighters take time to celebrate, recover, and plan carefully. But modern boxing moves differently. The internet creates fights before promoters even make phone calls. And after Benavidez dominated his latest opponent, fans immediately started imagining him against monsters from entirely different divisions. Heavyweight monsters. That's when the sport suddenly became dangerous again, because once fantasy turns into public demand, even impossible fights begin to feel real.
I think the fans are going to win on that one for sure, but I got to say, the way Benavidez is looking, I think that got to lean towards him.
He could do, think about, hold on, wait, what did I just hear?
Yeah.
Think about what we just said on this show. And guys, it's with the caveat that he had the right guy in front of him, right? Zurdo at cruiserweight. Yeah. But I have said so far in this show that Benavidez has to be in the conversation, considering he did it at 200 pounds for fastest combination puncher of all time. Mm-hmm. Devin is saying that's a hell of a fight, him and Usyk. Teo just came out and said he'd lean Benavidez against the heavyweight champ.
And also, Usyk is turning 40 next year?
Yeah, he's 38.
Okay, 38, 39, 40, that's close. That's 40 years old, that matters. And the speed thing, Usyk's always fighting guys he's faster than, quicker than.
The name that changed everything after defeating Gilberto Ramirez, Benavidez camp skipped the usual conversations. No ordinary title defenses, no safe negotiations, no predictable opponents. Instead, they aimed directly at Oleksandr Usyk, and boxing insiders immediately felt the tension. Because calling out Usyk isn't just ambition, it's stepping into a completely different world. A world where size, precision, intelligence, and pressure collide at the highest level possible.
David Benavidez to fight Oleksandr Usyk in 2027 for the heavyweight championship of the world. That is an absolutely insane fight. I know David Benavidez is very big and very fast, and Usyk is small for heavyweight in the modern times, but I know David Benavidez just did the jump from light heavyweight to cruiserweight. But the fact that he was a light heavyweight at all, and before that he was 168, jumping all the way to heavyweight, like that's Roy Jones shit. I could see him jumping to heavyweight and fighting like a lesser champion.
Timing in the heavyweight territory. The timing made the entire situation feel surreal. Benavidez had already built a reputation as a nightmare across multiple divisions. Relentless pressure, fast combinations, constant aggression. But heavyweight boxing changes everything. The punches become heavier, the mistakes become fatal, and the room for error disappears almost completely. That's why Usyk remains such a terrifying challenge. He already conquered cruiserweight, then moved up and defeated giants people believed were physically impossible to overcome. Not just surviving, dominating.
After what I seen last weekend, David Benavidez beats Oleksandr Usyk at heavyweight. Believe it or not, there are people that actually believe that David Benavidez beats Usyk, and it's like, bro, that's simply just crazy talk. I mean, I get it. Benavidez is a great fighter, but as of right now, he just got the cruiserweight, hasn't fought Albataya yet, hasn't fought Bivol, hasn't fought Beterbiev, fights that we actually want to see. And the thing is, I do think Benavidez is crazy enough to take on that challenge against Usyk, but as of right now, that would be a huge mistake for him. Truthfully, Usyk already has his own battles to take care of at heavyweight, taking on guys like Caballal, Wardley, Itama. Those are all way more realistic fights for him right now. One thing to mention, though, is the fact that David already said it's going to be about 5 years before he goes to heavyweight. But the thing is, with Turkey involved, adding a lot more money to the table.
Why Usyk is different. What makes Usyk dangerous isn't only his skill, it's his mind. Unlike many champions, Usyk doesn't chase headlines or social media attention. He rarely reacts emotionally. He studies, he waits, he calculates, and that silence creates tension. Because in boxing, silence from a champion often means preparation. While fans debated fantasy matchups online, Usyk remained focused on the immediate threat in front of him. A massive crossover spectacle against Rico Verhoeven near the pyramids of Egypt. For Usyk, distractions are dangerous, and that's exactly why people took his response so seriously.
You beat Usyk, you don't know how to see Battalion unless he want to come to heavyweight. Now he can go super middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiser heavy. Why would you play with a guy who's just as dangerous as Usyk, not as known as Usyk, not going to bring you as much money as Usyk, when you can just go straight to Usyk? That's kind of crazy. In a boxing ring with those 10-ounce gloves on, anything can happen. And that's my words to David Benavidez, because I know he listens to me. He looks up to me, thinks a lot of me. I'm going to tell him it's okay to say, no, Patai, you haven't proven yourself right now.
Benavidez pressure machine. Benavidez's supporters believe his style could trouble anyone alive. His pressure never stops. His combinations arrive in waves. And mentally, he forces opponents into survival mode instead of strategy. That's why some fans believe his aggression could create problems even for a technician like Usyk, especially if the fight becomes physical early. But others see a massive risk, because pressure means nothing if the opponent controls distance better than anyone else in the sport, and few fighters in boxing history manage distance like Oleksandr Usyk.
Ali Shiki, chill. Usyk is bigger than Benavidez. Usyk will not stand in front of Benavidez and take all those combos. Is a great counterpuncher. Elite footwork, will literally keep distance controls and counter Benavidez all night until he gets TKO like the ball.
Usyk.
It's probably like about a 10%.
It's not zero.
It's not zero. Yeah, it's a higher percentage than Canelo. To be honest with you, so
I was gonna get to him.
Usyk definitely in the future, but first things first, Usyk is I give my respects to him. He's an all-time legend, and it would be an honor to fight him in the future.
Legacy beyond weight classes, the conversation quickly became bigger than one fight. It became about legacy. Some fans compare Benavidez's ambition to the mindset of fighters chasing greatness beyond normal limits. Others argue that heavyweight boxing punishes ambition brutally because this division doesn't care about hype. One mistake can erase everything. Still, the idea refused to disappear, because styles make fights, and Benavidez's non-stop offense creates fascinating questions against Usyk's movement and control.
Usyk were to retire and the belts got split up, he could pick one of those off. But fighting Oleksandr Usyk, I don't care what age he is. If you give Oleksandr Usyk all of the advantages he already has, plus now he's not the massively smaller man, I don't see David Benavidez as great as I think he is. We have weight classes for a reason. And I don't see him really standing a chance there. And maybe if this is next year, maybe Oleksandr Usyk ages and he just falls off a cliff. I mean, if he does it, that's some all-time great shit.
And the boxing world splits apart. As the discussion spread online, fans divided into two sides. One side believes moving toward Usyk too early could destroy Benavidez's momentum completely. The other side believes elite fighters are supposed to chase impossible challenges. That's what greatness requires. Analysts began comparing old-school crossover matchups, debating whether speed, timing, and volume punching could neutralize heavyweight advantages. But critics quickly pushed back. Heavyweight boxing is different. The physics are different. At this level, one clean punch changes history.
Yesterday, we see Turki Al-Sheikh tell his Ring Magazine outlet that he's interested in you versus Usyk. What do you think of that?
As of me, for having a competitive spirit, definitely does interest me. You know, like I said, at the end of the day, you don't know what's possible until you make it possible. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think I can't beat Usyk, but if I really put my mind into it and, you know, train for maybe like a year, because I barely came up to cruiserweight, I can't just go up to heavyweight like that. But if I train myself and I prepare myself, I could beat anybody in the world. But I'm never going to say never, because maybe in the future when I'm like 35, we could go up to heavyweight. But right now, I'm really just taking care of the cruiserweight and the light heavyweight division.
Benavidez admits reality. Then something surprising happened. Benavidez himself sounded far more realistic than many fans online. He admitted there are still important steps before a Usyk fight becomes practical. Names like Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev still remain critical tests. Those fights would prove whether his dominance can truly translate upward. That honesty changed the tone of the conversation, because beneath the confidence, there was respect. Respect for how difficult the climb toward Usyk actually is.
I mean, the Mexican Monster's just become the unified cruiserweight champion of the world, and now we're talking about a super matchup in the heavyweight division? Boxers going crazy. Now, David has a long list of potential matchups in the light heavyweight division, such as your Artur Beterbiev and, of course, Dmitry Bivol. And in the cruiserweight division, none other than the man himself, Jai Petaya. But a showdown against Oleksandr Usyk? Don't get me wrong, guys. It's intriguing, but did I opt for this? Nah. As for Oleksandr Usyk, there's other matchups that I need to see him take on first. I mean, the winner between Dubois versus Fabio Wally, or even Ajay Kabayel. But if Turki Al-Sheikh wants a matchup, most of the time, he gets it done. And don't get me wrong, guys. If this ever materializes in 2027, it will draw eyes from all over the globe.
Boxing's billion-dollar possibility. Then came the rumors. Industry insiders reportedly began discussing the enormous financial potential of a future Usyk versus Benavidez showdown. Not today, not tomorrow, but possibly somewhere in the future. A long-term mega fight capable of crossing divisions, fan bases, and global markets. And suddenly, the fantasy started sounding less impossible. Because boxing follows attention, and this matchup is already generating massive curiosity worldwide.
Mike, so after Benavidez's performance tonight, the next thing for Benavidez is what? You want to see him unify the division, go down to light heavyweight?
I want him to be where he feels comfortable at.
Did you talk to him before the fight? And if you did, what advice did you give him?
Yes, he's a great fighter. He knows what to do. I didn't have to give him any advice, but he fought great tonight.
Appreciate you, Mike. Thank you.
The fight that won't go away. That's why this conversation refuses to disappear. Because deep underneath the hype, this isn't just about a boxing match. It's about a collision of eras, styles, and ambitions. One fighter defending greatness, the other trying to reach it. For now, Usyk versus Benavidez remains suspended between fantasy and inevitability. But every interview, every silence, every victory keeps pushing the story closer to reality. And until the day these two finally stand across from each other inside a ring, boxing fans will keep asking the same question. What happens when relentless pressure meets absolute control?